5-year-old girl calls 911 for help. What the officer finds at home breaks his heart. Before we dive into the story, drop a comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. Rain pelted against the windows of the 911 dispatch center as Sergeant Daniel Rourke finished his coffee. The October evening had turned the sky a deep charcoal, shadows stretching across the station floor like reaching fingers. After 15 years on the force, Daniel had developed an intuition about calls, which ones would be routine, which would be trouble. But nothing prepared him for what was about to come through. The phone rang once, twice. Daniel picked up, his deep voice steady and reassuring. 911, what's your emergency? At first, only silence answered him. Then came a sound that made the hair on his arm stand up. A child's breath, shallow and frightened. Hello, this is the police. Are you okay? Daniel leaned forward, every sense alert. Please come. The voice was tiny, a whisper that barely carried through the line. A little girl, couldn't be more than 5 or 6 years old. The baby stopped breathing. Daniel's training kicked in. What baby, honey? What's your address? Is there an adult there with you? A pause filled only with the sound of rain and the child's uneven breathing. Me. The word was barely audible. The baby is me. Before Daniel could respond, a static noise crackled through the line, followed by a clatter, as if the phone had been dropped. Then, nothing. Hello? Hello? Daniel tried, but the connection was gone. The dispatcher had already traced the call. 1422 Willow Creek Road, an old house on the outskirts of town. Daniel grabbed his keys, something cold settling in his stomach. That house was supposed to be vacant. I'm heading there. Now, he told the dispatch. Send backup and an ambulance. Possible child in distress. The windshield wipers fought a losing battle against the downpour as Daniel's cruiser cut through deserted streets. His mind raced with possibilities, none of them good. A child alone, talking about herself as the baby. What did that mean? Willow Creek Road emerged from the darkness, a winding path leading away from town. The houses grew further apart, more dilapidated. And then there it was, 1422. A 2-story house with peeling paint and boarded windows, no lights visible from outside, no car in the driveway. Daniel parked and grabbed his flashlight. The beam cut through the rain as he approached the porch, each step on the weathered wood creating an ominous creak. The front door was slightly ajar. Police officer, he called out, pushing the door open wider. Anyone here? The smell hit him. First, musty and stale, with something else underneath. The flashlight beam revealed a living room with sparse furniture covered in dust. Empty food containers littered the floor. Hello, I'm here to help, Daniel called again, moving cautiously through the darkness. A small sound came from his right. Not quite a whimper, not quite a word. Daniel turned his flashlight toward it and felt his heart stop. Huddled in the corner was a small figure, a little girl with matted hair and enormous eyes that reflected his flashlight beam like a frightened animal's. She clutched something to her chest, an old dirty doll with one missing button eye. The girl's face was smudged with dirt, her clothes hanging off her thin frame. But what made Daniel's breath catch was her belly, distended and swollen, an alarming contrast to her skinny arms and legs. Hi there, he said softly, kneeling down to appear less intimidating. Did you call for help? The girl nodded almost imperceptibly, her eyes never leaving his face. I'm Sergeant Daniel. I'm here now. You're safe. A sound from the kitchen made them both freeze. Footsteps. Then a man's silhouette appeared in the doorway. Who's there? The man's voice was neither alarmed nor threatening, just oddly detached. Daniel stood, positioning himself between the man and the child. Police. Sir, I need you to stay where you are and keep your hands visible. As backup sirens wailed in the distance, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just stepped into something much darker than a simple welfare check. The little girl's eyes followed his every move, filled with a mixture of fear and something that broke his heart even more. Hope. The backup Daniel had called for arrived with a flash of lights that illuminated the grim scene in bursts of red and blue. 2 officers secured the man, who offered no resistance, just stood with a vacant expression as they read him his rights. The paramedics rushed in, immediately focusing on the little girl still huddled in the corner. "Hey there," said a female paramedic, her voice gentle as she knelt beside the child. "My name is Amy. I'm going to help you feel better. Is that okay?" The girl clutched her doll tighter but gave a tiny nod. "Can you tell me your name, sweetheart?" Amy asked, carefully checking the girl's vitals. No response. Just those huge, watchful eyes. "Her name is Lily." The man suddenly spoke from across the room. "That's what her mother called her." Daniel turned toward him. "And you are?" "I'm her uncle." The man's tone was flat, emotionless. "I've been looking after her." "Your full name, sir?" Officer Jenkins asked while taking notes. The man hesitated. "Marcus. Marcus Trent." "And where is Lily's mother?" Daniel asked, watching Marcus's face carefully. Another pause. "She's not here." Daniel felt a chill that had nothing to do with the damp October air. "I can see that. Where is she?" Marcus looked away. "She got sick. She had to go away." Meanwhile, Amy had completed her initial assessment of Lily. "She's severely malnourished and dehydrated," she told Daniel quietly. "The abdominal distension is concerning. We need to get her to the hospital right away." As the paramedics prepared to transport Lily, Daniel noticed how the girl's eyes never left Marcus, not with affection or even familiarity, but with a wariness that spoke volumes. When they lifted her onto the stretcher, something fell from her grasp. Her doll. Daniel picked it up, noting its worn fabric and missing button eye. "Wait," he called to the paramedics. "She'll want this." He approached the stretcher and gently placed the doll beside Lily. For the first time, the girl's expression changed, a flicker of surprise, then something like gratitude. "I'll come check on you soon, Lily," Daniel promised. As they wheeled her out, Lily suddenly reached for Daniel's hand. Her tiny fingers wrapped around his for just a moment before the paramedics continued moving. That small gesture hit Daniel like a physical blow. In 15 years on the force, he'd seen countless tragedies, but something about this silent child and her desperate call for help had gotten under his skin. With Lily on her way to the hospital and Marcus in custody for questioning, Daniel turned his attention to the house itself. It told its own disturbing story. The refrigerator contained only condiment packets from fast food restaurants. Cabinets revealed a few cans of soup and boxes of crackers, hardly enough to sustain anyone, let alone a growing child. In what must have been Lily's room, a pile of blankets served as a bed. No toys except for the doll, no books, no clothes beyond what she had been wearing. It was as if she barely existed. Daniel's flashlight beam caught something on the floor. Near the makeshift bed, a crumpled piece of paper with crayon markings. He carefully picked it up and smoothed it out. A child's drawing, 3 stick figures, a tall one, a medium one lying down, and a small one standing apart from the others. The small figure had tears drawn on its face. "Sergeant," called Officer Jenkins from downstairs. "You need to see this." Jenkins held up a stack of mail addressed to Emily Vargas. "Most recent postmark is from 10 months ago," Jenkins noted. "But get this, there are unopened disability checks here." Daniel frowned. "So where is Emily Vargas now? And what's her relationship to our friend Marcus?" As if on cue, his phone rang. It was the hospital. "Sergeant Rourke, this is Dr. Patel from Memorial Hospital. You brought in a young girl tonight?" "Yes, Lily. How is she?" There was a pause that made Daniel's stomach tighten. "She's stable, but concerned. Initial tests show severe malnutrition, possible untreated illness. But what's truly alarming is that we can't find any medical records for her. No vaccination history, no birth certificate on file. According to our system, this child doesn't exist." Daniel looked around the barren room, at the drawing still in his hand, at the pile of blankets that had been Lily's bed. Something was very wrong here, and that little girl's trust was now in his hands. "I'm on my way," he told the doctor. As he drove through the rain toward the hospital, Daniel couldn't shake the image of Lily's eyes. Watching him, or the feeling that he'd only scratched the surface of whatever darkness had enveloped her young life. Memorial Hospital's pediatric wing was quieter at night, the hallways softly lit and hushed. Daniel nodded to the officer stationed outside Lily's room, standard procedure for a child. In protective custody, before stepping inside, the hospital bed seemed enormous compared to the tiny figure lying in it. Lily was asleep, her face peaceful for the first time since Daniel had found her. An IV delivered fluids to her thin arm, and various monitors beeped softly. Her doll rested beside her pillow. Dr. Patel, a woman with kind eyes and a serious expression, gestured for Daniel to join her in the hallway. "How is she?" Daniel asked. "Physically, she's suffering from severe malnutrition and vitamin deficiencies. Her swollen abdomen is due to protein deficiency and possibly an untreated infection. We're running more tests." Dr. Patel lowered her voice. "Sergeant, this level of neglect didn't happen overnight." Daniel nodded grimly. "What about records? Birth certificate? Medical history?" "Nothing. We've checked state databases, neighboring states, even national systems. No child matching her description or name has been reported missing. It's as if she's been completely off the grid her entire life." "How is that even possible these days?" Daniel wondered aloud. "Some communities live very isolated lives, or—" Dr. Patel hesitated. "Sometimes people deliberately keep children out of the system." A nurse appeared at the door. "Doctor, she's awake." They returned to find Lily sitting up, clutching her doll. Her eyes widened when she saw Daniel, and to his surprise, she extended her hand toward him. "Hey there, Lily," he said softly, approaching the bed. "Do you remember me?" "I'm Sergeant Daniel." Lily nodded, her gaze intense. Then she did something unexpected. She pointed to her doll, then to Daniel, and made a protecting gesture by crossing her arms over the toy. "Yes, I'm here to protect you, just like you protect your doll," Daniel said, understanding her silent communication. "You're safe now." Dr. Patel smiled gently at Lily. "Honey, can you tell us how old you are?" Lily hesitated, then held up 5 fingers. "5? That's a good age," Daniel said. "And can you tell us your full name?" Lily's brow furrowed in concentration, but she remained silent. "That's okay," Dr. Patel assured her. "You don't have to talk until you're ready." A social worker named Elena Martinez arrived shortly after, bringing a small teddy bear for Lily. With warm brown eyes and a gentle demeanor, Elena quickly established a rapport with the child. "I specialize in helping children who have been through difficult times," she explained to Daniel in the hallway. "Based on her behavior, Lily may not have had many positive interactions with adults. We need to build trust slowly." Meanwhile, at the police station, Detective Rivera was interviewing Marcus Trent. Daniel joined the session, studying the man who claimed to be Lily's uncle. "Mr. Trent, we found mail addressed to Emily Vargas at your residence," Rivera stated. "What's your relationship to her?" Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "We were together, not married or anything, but together." "And she's Lily's mother?" Daniel asked. "Yeah." "Where is Emily now?" Marcus looked away. "She got sick, real sick. She couldn't take care of Lily anymore." "That doesn't answer my question," Daniel pressed. "Where is she now?" "I don't know, man. She left." Marcus's voice turned defensive. "She said she needed to get better treatment. Couldn't afford it here. She asked me to watch Lily for a while. That was maybe 6 months ago. Haven't heard from her since." Daniel leaned forward. "Yet you didn't enroll Lily in school, didn't take her for medical checkups, didn't apply for proper guardianship. Why is that?" "Didn't have the right papers. Emily took everything with her." Marcus shrugged. "I was doing my best." The casual dismissal made Daniel's blood boil, but he kept his voice even. "Your best landed a 5-year-old in the hospital, severely malnourished. We found unopened Disability checks addressed to Emily. Were you cashing those? Marcus went silent, eyes darting to his attorney. Back at the hospital, Elena had made progress. She'd given Lily a notepad and crayons, and the girl was drawing intently. She's communicating through art, Elena told Daniel when he returned. It's common for traumatized children who aren't ready to verbalize their experiences. Lily held up her drawing. A house with a garden, a smiling woman with long hair, and a small figure holding the woman's hand. In the background was a shadowy figure watching them. Is this your mom? Elena asked gently, pointing to the woman. Lily nodded, then pointed to the garden and mimicked digging. Your mom liked to garden? Daniel asked. Another nod, more enthusiastic this time. Then Lily turned the page and began a new drawing. The same house, but darker, with the woman lying down and the shadowy figure now inside. Daniel and Elena exchanged glances. Whatever happened in that house on Willow Creek Road, Lily had witnessed it all. And somewhere out there was Emily Vargas, a woman who either abandoned her daughter to a neglectful guardian, or something far worse. 3 days passed with Lily in the hospital. Her physical condition improved steadily with proper nutrition and medication, but she still hadn't spoken beyond those few words on the first night. Daniel visited each day, sometimes bringing small gifts, a coloring book, a soft blanket, a hair ribbon. Today he arrived with a children's book tucked under his arm. Good morning, Lily, he said cheerfully as he entered her room. To his surprise, Lily's face lit up when she saw him. She pointed excitedly to a chair beside her bed, clearly wanting him to sit down. You look better today, Daniel observed, taking the seat. The hollowness in her cheeks was less pronounced, and her eyes seemed brighter. I brought you something. He handed her the book, a story about a brave little bird who gets lost and finds its way home. Lily traced the colorful cover with her finger, then looked up at Daniel expectantly. Would you like me to read it to you? A vigorous nod. As Daniel read the story, he noticed Lily mouthing some of the words, following along as if she knew how to read. When he finished, he asked, Did you like that? Lily nodded, then pointed to the brave little bird on the final page, then to herself. Yes, you are brave, just like this bird, Daniel agreed. Lily seemed to be considering something important. She pointed to the bird again, then to herself, then made a speaking gesture with her hand. The bird found its voice. And you want to find yours too? Daniel guessed. Lily's eyes widened in surprise at being understood. She nodded solemnly. Whenever you're ready, Daniel said gently. No rush. Dr. Patel entered with a tablet in hand. Good news, Lily. Your tests are looking much better. She smiled at Daniel. She's responding well to treatment. The swelling in her abdomen is already decreasing. Any news on finding records for her? Daniel asked quietly. Dr. Patel shook her head. Nothing yet. It's quite unusual. After the doctor left, Elena arrived for her daily session with Lily. Today she brought a dollhouse for therapeutic play. Daniel prepared to leave, but Lily grabbed his sleeve. You want me to stay? He asked, surprised. Lily nodded, then looked at Elena questioningly. That's fine, Elena assured her. Sergeant Daniel can watch if you'd like. What followed was remarkable. Using the dollhouse and figurines, Lily began to tell her story. She placed a small female doll and an even smaller child doll in the house, showing them cooking together, gardening, reading. Then she added a male doll, keeping it separate at first, then gradually moving it closer to the others. She demonstrated the female adult doll getting weaker, spending more time lying down, while the male doll took over the house. Elena and Daniel exchanged glances, understanding the narrative Lily was creating. This was consistent with her earlier drawings. Emily getting sick, Marcus taking control. Then Lily did something unexpected. She took the adult female doll and placed it in the dollhouse's tiny garden, pushing it slightly under a piece of fabric representing soil. She looked up at Daniel with tears in her eyes. Lily, he said carefully, are you trying to tell us something about your mom? About Emily? A single nod. Is she in the garden at your house? Another nod, a tear sliding down her cheek. Elena moved closer, her voice gentle. Lily, this is very important. Did your mom get very sick and die? Lily's bottom lip trembled. She nodded once more, then buried her face in her doll. The revelation hit Daniel like a physical blow. If Emily Vargas had died at the house, where was her body? And if Marcus knew, why hadn't he reported it? The disability check suddenly made horrible sense. Marcus had been collecting benefits for a dead woman while neglecting her daughter. Elena comforted Lily while Daniel stepped outside to make an urgent call to Detective Rivera. We need a forensic team at the Willow Creek house immediately. Focus on the garden area and pick up Marcus Trent again. We need to question him about Emily Vargas's death. When Daniel returned, Lily had calmed down. Elena was helping her draw, the dollhouse pushed aside. To his astonishment, Lily looked up and spoke her first full sentence since they'd found her. He said not to tell. Her voice was small but clear. He said they'd take me away if I told. Daniel knelt beside her. No one is taking you away, Lily. You're safe now. Promise? She whispered. I promise. Daniel replied, his voice thick with emotion. As he left the hospital, his phone rang. It was Rivera. We found something in the garden, Sergeant. You'd better get here right away. Daniel's heart sank as he drove toward Willow Creek Road. Emily Vargas had been there all along, buried in her own garden while Marcus cashed her checks and Lily suffered in silence. Now, finally, the truth would come to light. The forensic team had cordoned off the entire backyard of the Willow Creek house with yellow tape. Daniel ducked under it, his heart heavy as he approached Detective Rivera, who stood by a small garden patch near the back fence. What did you find? Daniel asked. Rivera pointed to a stone marker, partially hidden by overgrown weeds. It was hand-carved with a simple E and a date from 10 months ago. No body, Rivera said quietly, but ground-penetrating radar showed the soil was disturbed here recently, and we found these. He handed Daniel an evidence bag containing a woman's bracelet and a weathered notebook. Daniel examined the items. The bracelet was simple, silver with a heart charm engraved Emily. The notebook appeared to be a journal, its pages filled with increasingly shaky handwriting. We need a warrant to read it fully, Rivera explained, but the last visible entry mentions her getting weaker and worrying about Lily. Daniel looked around the small garden. Withered tomato plants, dried herbs, flowers long since gone to seed. She was a gardener, he murmured, remembering Lily's drawing. There's something else, Rivera added. We found prescription bottles in the trash, strong medications for a progressive liver disease. They were all in Emily Vargas's name. The last refill date was 11 months ago. The pieces were beginning to fit. Together, Emily had been seriously ill. She had likely passed away at home. Instead of reporting her death, Marcus had buried her in her beloved garden and continued to collect her benefits while neglecting her daughter. Where's Marcus now? Daniel asked. In custody. Won't say a word without his lawyer. Daniel's phone rang. It was Elena. Daniel, you need to come back to the hospital, she said urgently. Lily's talking more and she's asking for you. When Daniel arrived, Lily was sitting up in bed, clutching her doll. Her face brightened when she saw him. Sergeant Daniel, she said. Softly, her voice stronger than before. Hey there, Lily. He smiled, taking a seat beside her. I hear you've been talking more. She nodded. I want to tell about Mommy. Elena, sitting nearby, gave an encouraging nod. My mommy got really sick, Lily began, her small fingers fidgeting with her doll's dress. She couldn't get up anymore. Then one day she went to sleep and didn't wake up. Daniel gently took her hand. That must have been very scary for you. Lily nodded. Uncle Marcus said we had to put her in the garden because that's where she was happiest. He said not to tell anyone or they'd take me away to a bad place. So you stayed with him, Daniel said softly. He went away a lot. Sometimes there was no food. Lily's voice trembled. I tried to be good so he wouldn't leave me too. Daniel felt a surge of anger toward Marcus, but kept his voice calm. You were very brave. Lily, none of this was your fault. Lily looked up at him, her eyes wide and serious. Is my mommy really gone forever? The question broke Daniel's heart. Yes, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. A tear slid down Lily's cheek. I miss her. Daniel couldn't stop himself. He gathered the small girl in a gentle hug. I know you do, but you're not alone anymore, I promise. As Lily cried softly against his shoulder, Daniel made a silent vow to ensure justice for Emily Vargas and safety for her daughter. The garden had given up its secrets, but there was still much to uncover about Lily's life, and how to build her a future. A week had passed since Lily had begun talking. Each day brought small improvements, her appetite returning, her voice growing stronger, her smile appearing more frequently. Today, Daniel arrived at the hospital to find her sitting in a chair by the window drawing. Look, she said excitedly, holding up her artwork, a colorful rainbow over a house. Elena says I can use all the colors I want. That's beautiful, Daniel said, genuinely impressed by her improving skills. How are you feeling today? Better. Lily pointed to her stomach. Dr. Patel says I'm getting stronger. Daniel sat beside her. I have some news, Lily. The judge has decided that you can leave the hospital soon. Her eyes widened. Where will I go? Elena has found a very nice lady named Margaret, who specializes in helping children who have been through hard times. You'll stay with her while we figure things out. Lily considered this. Will she be nice to me? Very nice, and I'll visit you there too if that's okay. Lily nodded, seemingly relieved. What about Uncle Marcus? Daniel chose his words carefully. He's going to be in a place where he has to answer for not taking proper care of you. Lily accepted this without further questions, returning to her drawing. Daniel marveled at her resilience, how quickly children could adapt when given safety and care. Later that afternoon, Daniel met with Detective Rivera at the station to review evidence from the Willow Creek house. With a court order, they had accessed Emily's journal and were piecing together her final months. Emily knew she was dying, Rivera explained, carefully turning the journal's pages. She had primary sclerosing cholangitis, a progressive liver disease. Her doctors had recommended a transplant, but her insurance wouldn't cover it, and she couldn't afford the medications to manage her symptoms. Daniel shook his head. So where does Marcus fit in? According to her entries, they met at a support group for chronic illness. He presented himself as a caretaker, someone who could help. At first, he seemed genuinely supportive. But something changed, Daniel guessed. Rivera nodded. The entries become more concerning over time. Marcus moved in, isolated her from friends, took control of her finances. Classic controlling behavior. And after she died, that's where it gets even. Worse, we found this hidden in the wall behind Lily's bed. Rivera handed Daniel a sealed envelope, now carefully opened by the forensics team. It's addressed to whoever finds my daughter. Daniel read Emily's final letter, his heart heavy. Written in shaky handwriting, it detailed her fears. About leaving Lily with Marcus, but explained she had no family, no close friends left to care for her child. She begged whoever found the letter to protect Lily and make sure she knew her mother loved her. She must have hidden this when Marcus wasn't looking, Daniel said quietly. There's more. Rivera added, We've confirmed Marcus was cashing Emily's disability checks for months after her death. He also took out credit cards in her name. Classic identity theft. Daniel's jaw tightened. And meanwhile, Lily was starving. The DA is building a solid case, multiple felony charges. As Daniel drove back to the hospital, he thought about Emily's final plea. Make sure Lily knows she was loved. Tomorrow was Lily's last day at the hospital before moving to Margaret's home. Daniel had an idea, a way to honor Emily's wish and help Lily begin healing. He made a quick stop before heading home. Tomorrow would be a difficult but important day for a little girl who had already endured too much. The next morning dawned bright and clear, a stark contrast to the rainy night when Daniel had first found Lily. He arrived at the hospital carrying a small wooden box he'd stayed up late to prepare. He found Lily sitting on her bed, already dressed in new clothes that Elena had brought, jeans and a purple sweater that made her look like any ordinary 5-year-old. "Good morning," Daniel said, smiling at how much healthier she looked. "Ready for your big day?" Lily nodded, though her eyes betrayed nervousness. "Will Margaret like me?" "She's going to love you," Daniel assured her. "And guess what? I brought you something special." He sat beside her and placed the wooden box on the bed between them. Lily examined it curiously. The box was simple but beautiful, polished pine with a small heart carved into the lid. "What is it?" "It's a memory box," Daniel explained, "for keeping special things that remind you of your mom." Lily's fingers traced the heart. "I don't have anything from Mommy." "Actually, you do." Daniel carefully opened the box. Inside, he'd placed several items. Emily's silver bracelet with the heart charm, a small packet of flower seeds from her garden, and a pressed flower he'd found in her journal. "This belonged to your mom," he said, showing her the bracelet. "And these are seeds from the flowers she planted in her garden. And this flower, she pressed it in her journal. It's a forget-me-not." Lily touched each item reverently. "They're pretty. There's something else." Daniel reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded paper, a photocopy of the letter Emily had hidden. He'd edited it slightly to make it appropriate for Lily, keeping only the parts expressing Emily's love for her daughter. "This is a letter your mom wrote for you. Would you like me to read it?" Lily nodded, her eyes wide. Daniel unfolded the paper and read softly, "My dearest Lily, if you are reading this, then I am not with you anymore. And I'm so sorry for that. I want you to know that being your mother was the greatest joy of my life. Every day with you was a gift. Remember how we would dance in the kitchen? How we planted seeds together and watched them grow? How we made up stories about the stars? I hope you keep those memories close to your heart. You are brave and strong and kind, and I know you will grow up to do amazing things. Even though I can't be there to see them, I will love you forever and always. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. All my love, Mommy." Tears slipped down Lily's cheeks as she listened. When Daniel finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "Mommy didn't want to leave me," she finally whispered. "No, sweetheart, she didn't. She loved you very much and tried everything she could to stay with you." Lily wiped her eyes. "Can I keep the letter in my box?" "Of course." Daniel placed it inside, then handed her the box. "This is yours now." Lily hugged the box to her chest. Then, surprising Daniel, she leaned over and hugged him too. "Thank you," she murmured against his shoulder. A knock at the door interrupted the moment. Elena entered with a kind-looking woman in her 50s with silver-streaked hair and warm eyes. "Lily, this is Margaret Cooper," Elena introduced. "She's the lady we talked about who you'll be staying with." Margaret approached slowly, smiling. "Hello, Lily. It's very nice to meet you." Lily studied her cautiously, still clutching her memory box. "What a beautiful box you have there," Margaret commented. "May I see it?" After a moment's hesitation, Lily nodded and opened the lid to show her the treasures inside. "These are wonderful memories of your mother," Margaret said softly. "We'll keep them safe together." As Daniel watched Lily begin to interact with Margaret, he felt a complex mix of emotions. Relief that Lily was in good hands, sadness at the circumstances that had brought her here, and something unexpected, a sense of attachment to this brave little girl who had survived so much. When it was time to leave, Lily looked at Daniel anxiously. "Will you come see me?" "Yes," he promised. "I'll visit soon." As Margaret led Lily away, the little girl clutched her memory box in one hand and turned back to wave at Daniel with the other. Elena stayed behind with Daniel, watching them go. "You've done something remarkable," she told. "Himmy, you've given her back her mother's love." Daniel nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in his throat. He'd solved many cases in his career, but none had affected him as deeply as Lily's, and somehow he knew this wasn't the end of their story. 2 weeks passed. Autumn deepened, leaves swirling in crimson and gold drifts across the city. Daniel had visited Lily twice at Margaret's home, a cozy 2-bedroom house with a garden out back and a swing set that Lily had tentatively begun to enjoy. Today, however, wasn't a social visit. Today was Marcus Trent's sentencing, and Daniel was on his way to the courthouse. The case had moved quickly, with overwhelming evidence against Marcus. He'd ultimately accepted a plea deal rather than face trial. As Daniel entered the courtroom and took his seat, he spotted Elena already there, her expression serious. "How is she doing?" Daniel asked, referring to Lily. "Better every day," Elena replied. "She started kindergarten this week, late in the semester, but the school has been very accommodating. She's made a friend already, a little girl named Zoe." Daniel smiled, picturing Lily in a classroom with other children, finally experiencing normal childhood activities. The courtroom hushed as the judge entered. Marcus sat at the defendant's table, shoulders slumped, looking nothing like the defiant man they'd first encountered. The proceedings moved efficiently. Charges read, plea acknowledged, victim impact statements presented. Daniel had helped prepare a statement on Lily's behalf, which the prosecutor read aloud. It described, in simple terms, how Marcus's actions had affected a 5-year-old girl who had already lost her mother. It spoke of hunger, fear, and loneliness, but also of Lily's resilience and her hope for the future. When it came time for sentencing, the judge spoke directly to Marcus. "Mr. Trent, you had a duty of care to a vulnerable child, and you failed that duty in every conceivable way. You exploited a dying woman's trust, stole her identity after her death, and neglected her daughter, to the point of endangering her life. These are not merely crimes against property or public order. These are crimes against the most fundamental values of our society." The sentence was substantial: 12 years for fraud, identity theft, improper disposal of human remains, and child endangerment. Marcus showed no reaction as he was led away. Outside the courthouse, Daniel released a long breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "It's over," Elena said, squeezing his arm gently. "Now Lily can truly begin to heal." "Will she need to know about the sentencing?" Daniel asked. "Eventually, in an age-appropriate way. For now, she just needs to know she's safe and that Marcus can't come back." As they walked down the courthouse steps, Elena hesitated. "There's something else I wanted to discuss with you. It's about Lily's long-term placement." Daniel felt a sudden tightness in his chest. "What about it?" "Margaret is a transitional foster parent. She specializes in helping children through crisis periods. But eventually, we'll need to find Lily a permanent home. How long will that take?" "It depends. Given Lily's circumstances and age, she's likely to be adopted relatively quickly. But finding the right match is crucial." Daniel nodded, trying to sort through the unexpected surge of emotions he felt. Over the past month, he'd grown deeply attached to Lily. The thought of her being adopted by strangers, even loving, well-intentioned strangers, left him unsettled. "Would you—" Elena began carefully, studying his face. "Would you ever consider becoming a foster parent yourself, Daniel?" The question caught him off guard. "Me? I've seen how you are with Lily, and how she responds to you. You've built a trust that's rare and valuable. I'm not exactly parent material." Daniel said automatically. "Single cop with irregular hours? Not exactly stable home life. You'd be surprised how many successful foster parents come from non-traditional backgrounds. Just something to think about," Elena said gently. That evening, Daniel sat alone in his apartment, looking through photos on his phone. Lily in the hospital with her memory box, Lily on Margaret's swing set, Lily showing him a drawing she'd made of 2 stick figures holding hands labeled "Me" and Sergeant Daniel in wobbly letters. How had this happened? How had this child wound her way so completely into his heart? His phone rang. It was Margaret. "Daniel, I hope I'm not calling too late." "Not at all. Is everything okay with Lily?" "Yes, she's fine. but she had a nightmare tonight about her mother, and she's asking for you. Would it be possible for you to come by? I know it's a lot to ask. I'll be there in 20 minutes, Daniel said without hesitation. As he grabbed his keys and headed for the door, he realized Elena's question had awakened something he hadn't been ready to acknowledge. Perhaps there was another chapter waiting to be written in both his and Lily's stories. Daniel arrived at Margaret's house to find the porch light on, and Margaret waiting at the door. Her face showed relief when she saw him. "Thank you for coming so quickly," she said, leading him inside. "She's been asking for you since she woke up from the nightmare." "What happened?" Daniel asked, shrugging off his jacket. "She was screaming about someone taking her away. I couldn't calm her down until I promised to call you." Margaret's expression softened. "She trusts you in a way she doesn't trust anyone else yet." They walked upstairs to Lily's room, a cheerful space with pale yellow walls and butterfly decals. Lily sat huddled in bed, clutching her memory box. When she saw Daniel, her face crumpled with emotion. "You came," she whispered. "Of course I came," Daniel said, sitting on the edge of her bed. "Margaret said you had a bad dream." Lily nodded, her eyes wide. "A man was trying to take me away. He said I had to go with a new family far away, and I'd never see you or Margaret again." Daniel's heart twisted. "That was just a dream, Lily. You're safe here." "But Elena told Margaret that someday I might go live with new parents. What if they don't let me keep my memory box? What if they don't let me see you anymore?" Daniel exchanged glances with Margaret, who nodded encouragingly. "Lily," he said carefully, "it's true that someday you might have a permanent home with adoptive parents, but that will only happen with a family who will love you and take very good care of you. And your memory box will always stay with you, that's a promise. And you, will I still see you?" Daniel hesitated. The professional answer would be to prepare her for separation, to explain that relationships change. But looking at her frightened face, he couldn't bring himself to add to her fears. "I will always be part of your life, Lily, as long as you want me to be. That's a promise, too." She studied his face intently, as if checking for any sign of dishonesty. Then she nodded, apparently satisfied. "Will you read me a story until I fall asleep?" "Of course." Daniel spotted a book on her nightstand. The Brave Little Bird, the same story he'd read to her in the hospital. As he read, Lily's eyelids grew heavy. By the third page, she was asleep, her breathing deep and even, one hand still clutching the edge of her memory box. Daniel carefully placed the book aside and tiptoed out, following Margaret downstairs. "You're very good with her," Margaret observed, offering him a cup of tea. "Have you thought more about what Elena suggested, about becoming a foster parent?" Daniel wrapped his hands around the warm mug. "I've thought about nothing else, but I'm not sure it's realistic. My job isn't exactly conducive to raising a child." "Many police officers are wonderful parents," Margaret pointed out. "It would require adjustments, certainly, but it's not impossible. Even if I could make it work logistically, would it be fair to Lily? She deserves a real family, too. Parents, siblings, a normal life." Margaret smiled gently. "Families come in all shapes and sizes these days, Daniel. What children need most is love, consistency, and safety. You already provide those things for Lily." Before Daniel could respond, his phone buzzed with a text from Rivera. "New development in Vargas case. Emily's sister located. Flying in tomorrow." Daniel stared at the message in shock. Emily had a sister, but all the evidence suggested she had no family. "What is it?" Margaret asked, concerned. "They found Emily's sister. According to Lily, her mother never mentioned any relatives. People become estranged from family for many reasons," Margaret said. "Perhaps they had a falling out." Daniel's mind raced with questions. Why hadn't Emily reached out to her sister when she became ill? Where had this woman been all this time? And most importantly, what would her appearance mean for Lily? "I need to go," he said, standing. "Please tell Lily I'll see her soon, and call me if she has another nightmare." As he drove home, Daniel felt a growing unease. Just when Lily was beginning to feel secure, just when he was considering the possibility of becoming her foster parent, a biological relative, had emerged from nowhere. Tomorrow would bring answers, but Daniel feared it might also bring a whole new chapter of complications for the little girl who had already endured so much. Daniel arrived at the station early the next morning to find Rivera waiting, with a slim file and 2 cups of coffee. "Thanks for coming in on your day off," Rivera said, sliding 1 cup toward Daniel. "Emily Vargas's sister arrived an hour ago. She's in the conference room." "What do we know about her?" Daniel asked, flipping through the file. "Sofia Vargas, 38, lives in Seattle. Works as a nurse. No criminal record. Says she's been looking for Emily for 3 years. Daniel frowned. 3 years? Where was she when Emily was dying and Lily was suffering? That's what we need to find out. They entered the conference room to find a woman with the same dark hair and eyes as Emily, based on the photos they'd recovered. But while Emily's final photos showed a gaunt, exhausted woman, Sofia appeared healthy and put together, though clearly distressed. "Ms. Vargas, I'm Sergeant Rourke, and this is Detective Rivera. We're handling your sister's case." Sofia stood, extending her hand. "Thank you for finding me. I've been searching for Emily since she disappeared. Is it true? Is she really?" "I'm afraid so," Daniel confirmed. "We found evidence she passed away about 10 months ago from complications of her liver disease." Sofia sank back into her chair, tears welling. "I knew something terrible must have happened when she stopped responding. But her daughter? Lily. Is she all right?" "She's safe now," Daniel said, studying Sofia carefully. "But she was severely neglected after your sister's death. Where have you been all this time? Why weren't you there for them?" "Emily cut contact with me 3 years ago," Sofia explained, wiping her eyes. "Shortly after she met Marcus. Before that, we were close. I helped financially when she got sick, visited often. Lily called me Auntie Soph." "What happened?" "Marcus happened. He convinced Emily I was trying to control her life, that I didn't respect her choices. He isolated her, got her to change her number, move without telling me where. I hired a private investigator, but by the time he located them, they'd moved again." Daniel's skepticism must have shown on his face. "I have proof," Sofia said, opening her purse to produce a stack of photos. Emily and Sofia together at various events. Sofia holding a toddler, Lily, birthday celebrations. "This was the last email I got from Emily," she added, showing them her phone. The message was cold, asking Sofia to stop trying to contact her, claiming her interference was unwelcome. "It didn't even sound like her," Sofia said, voice breaking. "Can I see Lily? Does she remember me at all?" Daniel exchanged glances with Rivera. This changed everything. If Sofia was telling the truth, and the evidence suggested she would have legal priority as Lily's blood relative. "We'll need to verify everything," Daniel said carefully. "And any contact with Lily would need to be gradual, supervised. She's been through significant trauma." Sofia nodded eagerly. "Of course, I understand completely. I just want what's best for her. She's all I have left of Emily." As they concluded the interview, Daniel felt conflicted. Sofia seemed genuine. Her story aligned with what they knew of Marcus's controlling behavior. She had the resources and desire to give Lily a loving home. So why did the thought of Lily going to live with her fill him with such dread? After thorough background checks confirmed Sofia's story, the next step was arranging a supervised meeting with Lily. Daniel insisted on being present, along with Elena and Margaret. They decided to hold the meeting at Margaret's house, where Lily felt secure. Daniel arrived early to help prepare Lily. She sat cross-legged on the living room rug, drawing with colored pencils. "Lily," he said gently, sitting beside her. "Do you remember we talked about your mom's family? You said you didn't know any relatives?" Lily nodded, not looking up from her drawing. "We found someone who says she knew you and your mom. Your mother's sister, your Aunt Sofia." Lily's pencil stopped mid-stroke. Auntie Soph? She looked up, her expression unreadable. You remember her? Daniel asked, surprised. A little. She had a cat named Pepper, and she brought me a teddy bear. With a red bow. Lily frowned, trying to access distant memories. Then she went away. She didn't go away by choice, Lily. She's been looking for you and your mom for a long time. Lily absorbed this information silently. Is she coming here? Yes, today. Would that be okay with you? Lily shrugged, but Daniel noticed her knuckles had turned white from gripping her pencil. Will you stay with me? The whole time, Daniel promised. And Margaret and Elena will be here too. When the doorbell rang an hour later, Lily was sitting on the couch between Daniel and Margaret, clutching her memory box. Elena opened the door to admit Sophia, who stood nervously in the entryway carrying a gift bag. Hello, Lily, she said softly, staying where she was. Do you remember me? I'm your Aunt Sophia. Lily stared at her with wide eyes but didn't speak. It's okay if you don't remember. Clearly, Sophia continued. It's been a long time. I brought something that might help. She opened the gift bag and pulled out a plush cat with black and white patches. This is a toy version of Pepper, my cat. You used to love playing with him when you visited. A flicker of recognition crossed Lily's face. Pepper scratched the couch and Mommy laughed. Sophia's eyes filled with tears. That's right. You have such a good memory. Where did you go? Lily asked directly. Why didn't you help Mommy when she got sick? The blunt question hung in the air. Daniel admired Lily's directness. At 5 years old, she cut straight to the heart of the matter. Sophia moved closer, kneeling to be at eye level with Lily. I wanted to help. I tried so hard to find you both. Uncle Marcus told your mommy things about me that weren't true, and they moved away without telling me where. I looked everywhere for you. Lily considered this explanation, then opened her memory box and pulled out Emily's bracelet. This was Mommy's. Her heart charm bracelet, Sophia said, voice catching. I gave her that for her 30th birthday. Lily studied her aunt's face, then looked up at Daniel, seeming to seek his reassurance. He nodded encouragingly, though his own emotions were in turmoil. Would you like to see pictures of when you were little? Sophia asked, pulling out her phone. I have some of you and your mom and me together. Lily hesitated, then nodded, sliding slightly closer on the couch to see the phone. As Daniel watched them begin to reconnect, he felt both glad for Lily and strangely hollow inside. If Sophia took Lily to Seattle, what place would he have in her life? Would his promises from the night before become impossible to keep? Elena caught his eye from across the room, her expression sympathetic. She understood exactly what he was feeling, the complicated emotions of helping a child find their way home, even when that home might no longer include you. Over the next 2 weeks, Sophia visited Lily regularly, each meeting longer and more comfortable than the last. She brought photos, toys, and stories about Emily as a child. Gradually, Lily's memories of her aunt resurfaced. Birthday celebrations, weekend visits, bedtime stories. Daniel watched this reunion with mixed emotions. He was happy for Lily, yet each visit left him feeling more distant from her. Today, as he observed them in Margaret's backyard, planting flowers together, his heart felt particularly heavy. She's filed for custody, Elena said quietly, joining him by the window. As Emily's sister, with a stable home and income, she's almost certain to be approved. Daniel nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in his throat. She wants to take Lily back to Seattle next month. So soon. The words came out sharper than he intended. She's been very patient, Daniel. Most relatives would have pushed for immediate placement. I know. She's doing everything right. Daniel couldn't fault Sophia. She clearly loved Lily and was creating a thoughtful transition. You're not ready to say goodbye, Elena finished for him. Outside, Lily laughed at something Sophia said, her face more animated than Daniel had ever seen it. The transformation from the silent, frightened child he'd found to this gradually blossoming little girl was remarkable. Have you considered talking to Sophia? Elena suggested. About your role in Lily's life going forward? What role could I have? I'm not family. I'm just the officer who found her. You know you're more than that to Lily. Later, as Sophia prepared to leave, Lily ran to Daniel with a drawing. A garden full of colorful flowers with 3 stick figures, a small one labeled me, a taller one labeled Aunt Soph, and a third, wearing what looked like a police uniform, labeled Daniel. This is us, Lily explained. When I live with Aunt Soph, can you still visit me? Before Daniel could formulate an answer, Sophia approached. Of course he can, she said, surprising Daniel. Sergeant Rourke will always be welcome. In fact, she hesitated, then continued. I was hoping we could talk about that, Daniel. Would you have time for coffee tomorrow? Daniel looked from Sophia's earnest face to Lily's hopeful one. Yes, he said finally. I'd like that very much. As he drove home, Daniel wondered what Sophia wanted to discuss. Was it simply about maintaining contact with Lily, or something more? For the first time in weeks, he felt a glimmer of hope that perhaps saying goodbye to Lily didn't have to mean leaving her life completely. The coffee shop was quiet in the mid-afternoon lull. Daniel arrived early, choosing a corner table that offered privacy. When Sophia walked in, she appeared both determined and slightly nervous. Thank you for meeting me, she said, settling across from him with her latte. I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while. What's on your mind? Daniel asked, trying to keep his tone neutral. Sophia took a deep breath. I've been watching how Lily is with you. The way she lights up when you arrive, how she always saves her most important stories to tell you first. The trust between you is remarkable. Daniel nodded cautiously, unsure where this was leading. I've also noticed how you are with her, patient, protective, genuinely invested in her well-being. Sophia wrapped her hands around her mug. Lily has been through unimaginable trauma. The stability you've provided has been crucial to her recovery. She's an extraordinary child, Daniel said simply. She is, and she deserves an extraordinary future. Sophia met his eyes directly, which is why I wanted to discuss something important with you. I'm concerned about taking Lily away from the support system she's built here, especially from you. Daniel felt a flutter of hope. What are you suggesting? I've been offered a position at Memorial Hospital here. The pediatric unit needs experienced nurses. It would mean not returning to Seattle, finding a place here instead. Sophia hesitated. But more than that, I've been thinking about what's truly best for Lily's long-term healing. She reached into her bag and pulled out some papers. These are guardianship forms. They would allow us to share legal responsibility for Lily, joint guardianship. You and me working together to give her the stability and love she needs. Daniel stared at the papers, stunned. Joint guardianship? I don't have any legal claim to Lily. But you have an emotional one, Sophia said gently. And so do I. We each bring something different to her life. I'm her connection to her mother, to her past. You represent safety, rescue, protection. She needs both. Have you discussed this with Elena? With child services? Preliminary conversations, yes. It's unusual, but not unprecedented. Given the circumstances, Elena believes it could work, with careful planning and clear boundaries. Daniel's mind raced. This was nothing like what he'd expected. What would it look like, practically speaking? Lily would live primarily with me, but you would have regular visitation, holiday time, emergency backup, all the things a co-parent would have. Most importantly, Lily would know both of us are committed to her future. Why would you offer this? Daniel asked, still processing. Most people in your position would want sole custody. Sophia's expression softened. Because I lost my sister by not fighting hard enough against someone who isolated her. I won't make the same mistake with Lily by cutting her off from someone who clearly loves her. She smiled sadly. Besides, Emily would have wanted this. She always believed family was about love, not just blood. as Daniel left the coffee shop. An hour later, the guardianship papers tucked carefully in his jacket. He felt a curious mixture of emotion, hope, anxiety, and something unexpected. A sense of possibility he hadn't allowed himself to feel until now. The future he had imagined with Lily in it suddenly seemed within reach. 3 months had passed since the coffee shop meeting. Autumn had given way to winter, and now the first tentative signs of spring appeared in the small garden behind Sophia's newly rented house, a charming 2-bedroom with a fenced yard just 10 minutes from Daniel's apartment. Today was special. The joint guardianship had finally been approved by the court, and they were celebrating with a small gathering. Daniel arrived early, carrying a wrapped gift and a homemade lasagna. Lily spotted him through the window and raced to the door. "Daniel, come see my room. Aunt Soph let me pick the paint." Color. He followed her upstairs to a room painted soft yellow with butterfly decals similar to those at Margaret's house. But now there were personal touches, photos of Emily on the dresser, drawings on the walls, and a small desk where Lily's memory box had a place of honor. "It's perfect," Daniel said, genuinely impressed. "You've made it really yours. And look," Lily pointed to a framed photo on her nightstand, Daniel and Lily at the park, both laughing as they fed ducks. "So, I can see you even when you're not here." The simplicity of her statement touched him deeply. "I brought you something," he said, handing her the wrapped package. Lily tore open the paper excitedly. Inside was a beautiful wooden sign for her door, with Lily's room carved in flowing script, decorated with small painted lilies. "I made it in my woodworking class," Daniel explained. "You made this?" Lily's eyes widened in awe. "For me? Just for you." She ran her fingers over the carved letters. "I'll keep it forever." Downstairs, Elena, Margaret, and Rivera had arrived for the celebration. Sophia was arranging a cake on the dining table, chocolate with strawberries, Lily's favorite. "Perfect timing," she said, spotting Daniel and Lily. "Everyone's here now." As they gathered around the table, Elena raised her glass of sparkling cider. "To Lily, and to the unique family that's come together for her." "To family," everyone echoed. Later, as the adults chatted in the living room, Daniel found himself looking through the photo album Sophia had created. Emily and Lily through the years, with new photos of Lily with Sophia and Daniel gradually being added. "She's doing so well in school," Sophia said, joining him. "Her teacher says she's catching up quickly. And the nightmares are less frequent?" "I've noticed," Daniel agreed. Their arrangement had Daniel staying over every other weekend, taking the guest room while Lily slept peacefully across the hall. "There's something else," Sophia said, her expression serious. "I found more of Emily's journals when I was going through some stored boxes. I think you should read them." She handed him a worn notebook. She wrote about what she wanted for Lily if anything happened to her. It's almost like she knew. Daniel opened the journal carefully. Emily's handwriting filled the pages, sometimes steady, sometimes shaky, but always with the same fierce love for her daughter evident in every word. One passage caught his eye. "If I can't be there for Lily, I hope she finds guardians who will love her as fiercely as I do, who will protect her, guide her, and help her remember me while encouraging her to grow beyond my absence." Daniel looked up at Sophia, who was watching him with tears in her eyes. "It's like she knew what Lily would need," Sophia said softly. "Not just one person to replace her, but a circle of love." Outside, Lily was showing Rivera how to use the swing set Daniel had built in the backyard. Her laughter floated through the open window, clear, uninhibited, healing. Daniel closed the journal gently. "I think Emily would be proud of what we've created here." "I think so too," Sophia agreed. "It's not a conventional family, but it's exactly what Lily needs," Daniel finished. And watching Lily swing higher and higher, her face tilted toward the sun, Daniel knew it was true. From the darkest beginning had come an unexpected light, a new kind of family, bound not by traditional ties, but by something equally powerful: the choice to love a child who needed them. 1 year later, on a perfect autumn, On a perfect afternoon, Daniel stood at the edge of the community garden, watching Lily carefully plant bulbs in the small plot that bore a sign reading Emily's Garden. Her hands worked with confidence, patting the soil gently over each bulb. "These will bloom in spring," Lily explained to the small group gathered around her. Mom loved tulips best. It was the anniversary of the day Daniel had found Lily, and they had chosen to mark it not with sadness, but with a celebration of how far they had come. They had invited everyone who had been part of Lily's journey. Elena, Margaret, Rivera, even some of Lily's new friends from school and their parents. Sophia moved through the gathering, offering lemonade and cookies. She caught Daniel's eye and smiled, a smile of shared understanding. Their unusual family arrangement had evolved into something neither of them could have predicted. A genuine partnership in raising Lily, built on mutual respect and a common purpose. "Sergeant Daniel," Lily called, waving him over. At 6 years old now, she had grown taller, stronger, her face fuller and her eyes bright with life. "I saved a special spot for your tulips." Daniel knelt beside her, taking the bulb she offered. "Where should it go?" "Right here, next to mine and Aunt Soph's, so they'll all grow together." He planted the bulb carefully, following her expert instructions. "Perfect," Lily declared, patting the soil one final time. Later, as the gathering began to disperse, Elena approached Daniel. "I've been meaning to tell you, your case has changed department policy. We're implementing new protocols for children without official records based on Lily's experience." "That's good to hear," Daniel said, watching Lily showing her school friends how to use the garden tools. "You've changed too," Elena observed. "Both of you have." It was true, the year had transformed them all. Sophia had found her place at Memorial Hospital, thriving in pediatric care. Daniel had been promoted to detective, specializing in cases involving children. And Lily, she had blossomed in ways that still amazed him daily. As twilight approached, Daniel, Sophia, and Lily walked home together. Lily skipped between them, occasionally catching their hands to swing herself forward. "Today was the best day," she declared. "Can we do it every year?" "Absolutely," Sophia said. "It's important to, remember how we became a family." At home, as Daniel helped tuck Lily into bed, she pulled out her memory box, more decorated now with stickers and drawings, but still containing those first precious items: Emily's bracelet, the pressed flower, the letter. "I have something new for my box," she said, pulling out a small packet of tulip seeds. "So I'll always remember today, too." "That's a wonderful idea," Daniel said, touched by her thoughtfulness. "Daniel," Lily asked as he turned to leave, "do you think my mom can see us? Do you think she knows I'm happy?" Daniel considered the question carefully. "I believe she does, Lily. I really do." Lily nodded, satisfied with his answer. "I think so too. And I think she'd be happy about our family, even though it's not like other families." "Our family is special," Daniel agreed. "Just like you." As Lily drifted off to sleep, Daniel stood in the doorway, watching her peaceful face. From that terrible rainy night, a frightened call from a forgotten child had emerged this: a family bound not by blood but by choice, by love, by the shared commitment to helping one little girl heal. In saving Lily, Daniel reflected, they had all been saved. Return, and that was the most unexpected gift of all.